Hey, so if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like button and the subscribe button. I would appreciate your support for the channel. So rather than, drag this out and only give you the answer at the end, let me just tell you at the outset a summary of my findings of the report, what it actually determined, contrary to what maybe some of the headlines are saying, and then we can talk about some other details. So ultimately, the commission here that was tasked with studying the question, first of all, doesn't have any authority to make any decisions, right? It's just a study commission. So whatever they said, it's not going to be the final answer on anything. Ultimately, Pope Leo is the one who has that decision. And we'll find out whenever he makes it. Perhaps he's going to make it at some point next year. If that, we don't know. But ultimately, he will be the one who will make a decision. This is just a study group commission to kind of investigate the question, one of several. Okay, ultimately, what the group basically said is they're not in favor right now for a sacramental form of a female diaconate. That is a female diaconate that is considered part of holy orders. Kind of like the male version is part of holy orders. Then you got the priesthood. Then you got the episcopate, the three order hierarchy there. They're not in favor at this time, based on historical research, for a sacramental women's ordination. And they're saying further doctrinal investigations need to occur on this. But not only that, the document does leave room the possibility for a non-sacramental female diaconate. And that's explicit in the text. One that's rooted in baptism rather than one that is rooted in holy orders. And it's stressing more research needs to be done about how there is a diaconate ministry that's rooted in baptism that's open to everyone, including women, irregardless or irrespective. I don't think irregardless is a real word. Irrespective of a sacramental female diaconate. Okay? That's the part that everyone seems to be missing for some odd reason. Actually, it's not odd. I know what it is. People don't actually read the primary sources. They just repeat headlines. So headlines that say Vatican Commission says no to female diaconate, misleading at best. Even Vatican News is kind of falling into this. Patriarchy Commission says no to female diaconate, though judgment not definitive. A little bit more than that. It says no at this time to a sacramental diaconate, not to a non-sacramental diaconate. Even Vatican News can't even get it right, which is frustrating to me because it's a theme I've been telling you all about for quite some time now. Catholic media news outlets are not always incredibly reliable in theological discussions or in their report. I don't know what the reason for that is, but they tend to leave a lot to be desired. And it's caused me a lot of frustration because I'll often see these headlines and then I'll actually go, evidently I'm one of the very few, and read the primary document. And then I find out, oh boy, there's a lot of other stuff that a lot of people are missing here. And some of it goes against the headlines. And I have to start asking the question, why is Catholic media so bad at this? What is going on? I kind of expect that just from like random people on Twitter sharing misleading information. Okay, I expect that, but Vatican News, we can do better. We can do a lot better. Okay, so let's maybe take a look at this now that we got that summary out of the way. Let me share my screen and show you. This is the Vatican website, so we just go straight to the primary sources before we look at any secondary sources. Here's the Vatican press website and summary of the study commission of the female diaconate, December 4th, 2025. to His Holiness Pope Leo the 14th, and they're writing a summary. And we're going to read the summary here in just a second, but I just want to show you the big highlights here. Look at this. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the video so far. I just want to remind you, hit the subscribe button and the like button. Also consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/reason and theology, or just hit the join button to become a channel member right here on YouTube. Okay, let's get back to the video. They voted on 5C. And what is the question 5C? The undersigned is in favor of the institution in today's church of the female diaconate, understood as the third degree of holy orders. And by the way, in today's church, notice that qualification, as opposed to maybe tomorrow. In today's church, as opposed to 5 years from now. How many voted in favor of the idea that there should be female diaconate that is sacramental for today? Notice all those qualifications. The qualifications they don't tell you up front in the headlines. The devil's in the details, isn't it? How many voted in favor and against? In favor, only 2, against 6, abstain 2. So by the way, there's only 10 people voting in this commission, so it's a really small commission, right? 10 professors. 6 were not in favor of this. Okay, so 6 said they're not in favor in today's church for a female diaconate considered as part of holy orders. However, the part that everyone seems to be missing right here. In the final considerations, the cardinal notes, cardinal is over the study group, the body of documentation compiled by the various successive commissions demonstrates an intensive theoretical and existential dialectic between 2 theological orientations. One of them insists that the ordination of the deacon is ad ministerium, not ad sacerdotium. So one that is a ministry rather than part of like holy order, sacramental. This factor would open the way to the ordination of deaconesses. It's right there saying, hey, there is an argument that can be made for women's ordination if it's considered non-sacramental. That is rooted in baptism rather than rooted in holy orders. Okay? The other, however, insists on the unity of the sacrament of holy orders along with the spousal significance of its 3 degrees and rejects the hypothesis of a female diaconate. It also notes that if the admission of women to the first degree of holy orders were approved, their exclusion from the other degrees would be inexplicable. So, I mean, if you did have like a sacramental female diaconate, it argues, well, there would be nothing there to stop the second and third order, the presbyterate and episcopate, which actually does not logically follow. But, and I'm not in favor of female diaconate, by the way, but I just have to point out that that's not entirely accurate. But okay, be that as it may, it says, there's different views here, but one of them is that the body of documentation in their research leaves room for the idea that you can have a female diaconate that is just not part of holy orders, which is no shock. I mean, I've been telling you about this distinction for years now, right? Between a sacramental women's ordination for the diaconate versus a non-sacramental version. I've told y'all, historically, there have been female deacons in the Catholic Church. The question has always just been, was it sacramental or not? I've been saying that for years, right? This commission is saying they don't believe that the historical evidence indicates that it's sacramental, or at least not on the whole. Because if you look at what they say here in the note, they say, although some testimonies considered in isolation lead one to think that the female diaconate had sacramental characteristics at times and in certain places. What would those be? You had the laying on of hands, you had the invocation and the calling down of the Holy Spirit on the women, and also the prayers that were used for their ordination sometimes were the same prayers that were used for the ordination of the men. That's what they're referring to, right? So they're saying, look, though there's some things that would make you think it was sacramental, on the whole, they don't believe it was sacramental because they don't believe that it was placed in the line of apostolic succession. That's their opinion. And again, I'm not in favor of the female diaconate. But I do recognize that, yeah, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of factors here historically that I have to consider. and they have evaluated historically. They think ultimately it was a sacramental. Oh, okay, that's fine. But they're, again, leaving room for the idea there could be a non-sacramental. By the way, and they're just saying, hey, this is just our opinion. We leave it to the doctrinal arm of the church, the magisterium, to actually settle the question, can you have a female diaconate that is sacramental? They're saying we just can't verify that there has been historically. But theologically, the doctrinal arm of the church, the magisterium, is going to have to investigate that. So they're kind of kicking the can down the road. They're just passing the buck on to the magisterium, saying, you guys need to study this theologically. Here's our opinion historically. I hope you enjoyed this video clip. I have a link to the full video in the comment section. If you enjoyed this, please hit the subscribe button and the like button. We'll see you next time.